welcome to or back to my channel. My name is Rachel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about my 2026 reading goals. Now, I don't usually give myself many goals for reading. It's usually just a number. So 2026 is not going to be much different. I do have a number goal, and we'll talk about that and go over it and why I picked that number. But I also do have 5 other goals that I want to hopefully accomplish. I don't know if accomplish is the right word because they're not really like set in stone kind of goals. You'll see. I'm just gonna jump right in, but these are the 6 goals that I have for 2026. So the first goal that I have is my number goal. How many books do I want to read in 2026? The answer is 52. You know, I always give myself about 50 books to read in a year because that's, I feel like, a feasible number for me. I usually average between 40 and 70-ish books a year. And I know that's kind of a wide gap, but it really honestly just depends on how busy I am, what I'm doing, and I guess just how much I'm actually reading. I have had years where I've only read 40 books, and I've had years like 2025 where I read 100, which is crazy because that's the most I've ever read in an entire year, and I've been a reader my entire life. 52 books is obviously a book a week, and I kind of also had like a piggyback goal off of the reason why I picked 52 books. So the second goal that I have is to read less, which, you know, kind of I feel like doesn't make a lot of sense, but I have noticed that this is a huge trend that's been going around at the end of 2025 for 2026 is to really just sit with what you're reading, slow it down, and read less. I feel like this in 2025, I didn't feel rushed necessarily, but I did feel like I was pushing myself a lot to read, and I enjoyed it. And I found some fantastic books. I mean, I genuinely think that 2025 might have been one of the best years of reading for me, just of how many good books I found. But I also did feel a little bit, like I said, rushed. Like I did feel like I was pushing myself a little bit more than I would normally like to feel. I do think that pushing yourself is good, but I felt like it was a little too much. So 52 books is a book a week, and I feel like that is a really reasonable goal for me. So that's where I'm at, and if I don't hit it, it's fine. If I go over, great. But 52 books and slowing down, being more intentional with my reading, and really trying to immerse myself in these worlds are my 2 first goals for 2026, and probably the 2 most important, followed by number 3, which is read my physical TBR. I own so many books, and I want to read what I own. I do not want to spend a ton of money on books. Obviously, I love shopping for books. I love buying books, and I full-heartedly think that buying books and reading books are 2 different hobbies, and unfortunately, I love doing both of them. But with that being said, I do really want to focus on reading my physical TBR because I own so many books that I think I'm going to love. That's why I bought them, because I feel like I'm going to love them. And I think that if I try and focus on reading my physical TBR, I won't buy as many books. And I do feel like there is a point where I'm buying books just because I want to buy something. I want to buy a book. I think it looks cute. The cover looks pretty. I've heard people talk about it, but I really want to make sure that what I'm purchasing is intentional. And I feel like that kind of goes back to goal number 2, which is being intentional with what I'm reading, and obviously looping that in with reading my physical TBR. So those are the first 3 and probably the most important 3 goals that I have for 2026. The next 2 goals kind of go hand in hand, but the first one is to step away from Goodreads. And I know it sounds crazy. Goodreads is like the biggest platform for tracking your books, but I think that there are better platforms out there that have more, that are not associated with Amazon. I feel very strongly about Amazon and my dislike for them. And I think that obviously I'm one person and there isn't much I can do on my own, but I don't want to be a contributing factor to what Amazon is doing to the publishing and independent bookstore industry and just books as a whole. So I really want to take a step back from Goodreads, and I don't want to use that as my primary tracker for 2026 and moving forward. So with that being said, the fifth goal that I have is to use Fable and more of like a Google spreadsheet kind of tracker. I love Fable. I really fell in love with it in 2025. I love the community aspect of it, which you don't really get with Goodreads. There used to be one, but I feel like without having updates, it's just really fallen behind, and Fable has really pushed forward with that, and I really enjoy it. I will go on there almost every single day and I will track my reading. I will like people's comments, I will comment, I will, create my own posts and hear what people have to say, and it's just really nice to be able to engage with people who love reading and love what you're reading, or even if they don't, it's really nice to just get that engagement, which is part of the reason why I created this YouTube channel and my TikTok and Instagram, was to get engagement with fellow book lovers. And Fable for me really does that. And I also feel like it has more tracking features, and I love getting my statistics at the end of the year, not just the blanket number of how many books I read, but what I read, how I rated things, and all that kind of stuff. But kind of in tandem with that is also using I don't want to say physical because it's not like a physical tracker, but something that's not an app like Fable, but more of like a Google spreadsheet. And I have been toying with a couple different ones. I think I'm leaning more towards Chris and Mads. They put one out for their Patreon members, and then so does Books Unbound. So I'm gonna try and figure out between those two probably which one I want to use, but both of those give me and the reader much more in-depth statistics on what we're reading, and I just really like that. So that is my fifth goal: step away from Goodreads and try and track my reading more in depth, and primarily using Fable. I did also use Storygraph in 2025. I've been using all three. Goodreads the longest, but I've been using all three for a few years now, but 2025 was really the year that I went all in and tracked across all three platforms to really get a feel for what I liked going into 2026. And I will have a video out about all my statistics, what I got from each one, and what I liked and what I don't like about each platform, and why I ended up choosing Fable for 2026. The last and final goal that I have for 2026 is more of like a bookish adjacent goal, and that is to step away from my phone and it's kind of contradictory actually, because I want to step away from my phone and be on social media less and do more physical hobbies like coloring and puzzle making. I have a couple of crochet kits that I'd really like to learn how to do, obviously reading more, but I also want to focus on my content creation. Like I said earlier, I created these platforms because I really like engaging with people who love to read, and I really want to dive into that more. So I want to be more intentional with my social media usage, where I'm actually creating content and not just consuming it. As much as I love seeing what everyone else is posting, I want to make sure that as I'm consuming it, I'm also commenting and interacting with people, but also creating stuff to put out there. I don't just want to be doom scrolling all day long. And I do like to listen to audiobooks, and I tend to start scrolling, and I really don't want to do that. I want to use my physical media that I have, like coloring, crocheting, or doing puzzles while I'm listening to audiobooks, to really make sure that I am growing as a person and not just consuming all of this media. And I don't think that the media that I'm consuming is, all junk. I consume mainly bookish content, which I love, but I do know for a fact that I spend too much time on my phone, And I really want to take a step back from that. And like I said throughout this entire video, just be more intentional about what I'm doing in 2026. So those are all of the goals that I have for 2026, my 6 goals in 2026. I hope you guys found maybe one of these to be intriguing, and maybe you'll try one of these goals out for yourself. Drop your comments. Yeah, I mean, you can put your comments, but drop your goals for 2026 down below. I'd love to see what your guys' goals are for this year. And with that, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy content from me. I post every Wednesday and Friday. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day or evening. Bye.